These numbers tell Nashville's explosive transformation story. 16.9 million tourists spent $11.2 billion in 2024. Median home prices jumped 62% since 2019 to nearly $480,000, and over 136,000 new residents flooded into the metro area in just 4 years. This is how Music City became America's fastest-growing boomtown, and why that success is pricing out the very people who built it. Walk down Broadway past the honky-tonks that feed the Grand Ole Opry's century-old legacy on any weekend night, and you will witness an economic engine that generates $30.7 million in spending every single day. Behind those neon lights and honky-tonk facades sits a city wrestling with the consequences of its own magnetism. Nashville has become the poster child for rapid American urban growth, attracting everyone from tech giants to country music dreamers performing steps away from the Raymond Auditorium. Yet, as the city reaches new heights of prosperity, a fundamental question emerges. Can a place become too successful for its own good? The numbers paint a picture of unprecedented growth. In 2024 alone, Nashville added over 32,000 new jobs, nearly double the national average for employment growth. The unemployment rate sits at just 2.9%, compared to the national average of 4.4%. There are 47,000 more job openings than unemployed people in the region. By every traditional economic measure, Nashville is thriving. But dig deeper, and the picture becomes more complex. That median home price of $480,000 requires a household income of around $138,000 to remain within the 30% affordability threshold. Yet the actual median income in Nashville is only $90,595. This means the typical Nashville family would need to spend 46% of their income just to buy the median-priced home. For renters facing corporate landlords like Invitation Homes and American Homes 4, rent buying up single-family properties, the situation is equally challenging, with over 49% of Davidson County renters considered cost-burdened. The tourism boom driving much of this growth is nothing short of remarkable. Nashville's recovery from the pandemic has been spectacular, with visitors flocking to see the Country Music Hall of Fame and experience Music Row's legendary studios. Visitor numbers not only returned to pre-pandemic levels, but exceeded them by 8.8% in 2023. From a low of 9.85 million visitors in 2020, the city welcomed 16.83 million tourists in 2023 and pushed that number to 16.9 million in 2024. This tourism success generates massive tax benefits for residents. Without tourism-generated taxes, every Nashville household would need to pay an additional $3,678 in state and local taxes. Tourism created $1.16 billion in state and local tax revenue in 2024, including $692.9 million for the state and $464.1 million for local government. Deanna Ivey, President and Chief Executive Officer of Nashville Convention and Visitors Corporation, says that tourism in Nashville continues to be a powerful driver for our city and state, accounting for 1/3 of all visitor spending in Tennessee. The scale of Nashville's tourism infrastructure is staggering. Nashville International Airport, one of the fastest-growing airports in North America, served a record 24.5 million passengers in 2024, a 7.5% year-over-year increase. The airport now offers 523 average daily arrivals and departures to 98 non-stop destinations. On Lower Broadway alone, any given night sees 400 to 450 security personnel managing crowds that regularly exceed 200,000 people on weekends. That is larger than the entire population of Knoxville, Tennessee's third largest city. But Nashville's growth story extends far beyond tourism. The city has positioned itself as a major corporate destination, attracting companies fleeing high-tax states. Tennessee's lack of state income tax, permanently enshrined in the state constitution 10 years ago, serves as a powerful magnet for businesses and wealthy individuals. Amazon now employs over 8,000 people in the Nashville area with plans for continued expansion. Oracle, the technology giant, announced a record-setting $1.2 billion investment that will bring 8,500 jobs to Nashville's River North development. That is the largest economic development project in Tennessee history. The healthcare sector, anchored by Vanderbilt University and Medical Center as the city's largest employer, continues to expand. HCA Healthcare maintains a significant presence, while the music and entertainment industry contributes $9.9 billion to the local economy and supports over 80,000 direct and indirect jobs. The state of Tennessee employs approximately 30,000 people in the Nashville area, adding stability to the employment base. This corporate migration represents more than just job creation. It's a fundamental shift in Nashville's economic identity. When Alliance Bernstein relocated its headquarters from New York City to Nashville in 2018, it signaled that Music City could compete for white-collar, high-paying jobs traditionally concentrated in coastal cities. The absence of state income tax makes Nashville particularly attractive to high earners who can significantly reduce their tax burden by relocating. The population surge tells the story in stark numbers. The Nashville metro area has grown from 1,315,000 in 2023 to an estimated 1,350,000 in 2025. About 72,000 people have moved to Nashville from other states since 2020, while nearly 38,000 have arrived from other countries. International migration accounts for 28% of the region's total growth. United Nations projections suggest the metro area will reach 1.42 million by 2030 and 1.48 million by 2035, adding another 150,000 people over the next decade. Many of these new residents rely on WeGo public transit to navigate the sprawling metro, putting strain on the city's infrastructure as growth outpaces transportation planning. Yet this success story has a dark side that community activists and policy experts increasingly highlight. A 2025 report from the National Community Reinvestment Coalition ranked Nashville as the most intensely gentrifying city in America from 2010 to 2020. Historic neighborhoods like Edge Hill, a historically African American community, face what residents call tear-down fever and the invasion of short-term rentals that transform residential areas into de facto hotel districts. Even Tennessee State University, the historic HBCU that will move its football program to the new Nissan Stadium, sits in neighborhoods experiencing rapid displacement. The numbers on affordable housing loss are sobering. Nashville's most recent Unified Housing Strategy study reports a loss of 27,000 affordable units for earners between 30% and 60% of area median income from 2010 to 2023. This happened despite Nashville ranking second in the nation for new housing production within a 5-mile radius of the city center since zoning reform began in 2010. The Metro Development and Housing Agency, MDHA, struggles to keep pace, while the Barnes Fund for Affordable Housing, Nashville's primary housing trust fund, faces overwhelming demand. The city is in the middle of a record-setting home construction boom, yet affordability keeps slipping further out of reach. Mayor Freddie O'Connell has said that Nashville must be a city that works for everyone. He added that in a city that works for everyone who works here should be able to live here. But current data suggests this ideal remains elusive. A recent study found that 49% of young Nashvillians do not think they can afford to stay in the city and may have to move. O'Connell's administration faces pressure from the Metro Nashville Planning Department to accelerate affordable housing initiatives while managing the massive East Bank development. The rent trends tell a compelling story of the city's transformation. In 2010, the average one-bedroom apartment rented for around $900. By 2015, that number had risen to $1,050. The pandemic year, 2020, saw rents at $1,200, which seemed reasonable at the time. But by 2024, that figure had jumped to $1,576, and 2025 estimates put it at $1,660. Downtown Nashville represents the extreme end, where a one-bedroom apartment averages $3,665 per month. The tourism industry itself acknowledges growing pains. Industry documents recognize that Lower Broadway's reputation is threatened by alcohol overconsumption, drug use, and brawling. Sergeant Mike Hotz, who heads the Metro Nashville Police Department's overdose unit, provides stark context. He says he does not want to sound like the harbinger of doom, but it is very bad in the city of Nashville, the overdose epidemic. More than 5,000 people a year, that we know of, suffer from non-fatal overdoses. We do see a disproportionate amount of people suffering from both fatal and non-fatal overdoses in the entertainment district. Despite these challenges, Nashville continues building toward an even bigger future. The 500-acre East Bank project represents the city's most ambitious development ever, nearly 10 times the size of the Gulch neighborhood. This project will house the new $2.1 billion Nissan Stadium, Oracle's headquarters, and an entire new neighborhood called East Point. Construction on the stadium is set for completion in February 2027, with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell speaking positively about Nashville hosting a Super Bowl in the near future. The stadium will serve as the new home for Tennessee State University football, marking a significant shift for the historic HBCU program. The stadium project alone demonstrates the scale of Nashville's ambitions. Construction teams placed more than 12,400 beams, totaling 18,000 tons of steel, and poured approximately 98,000 cubic yards of concrete for the 1.8 million square foot facility. When complete, it will anchor a development that city leaders project will drive tourist numbers to 18.1 million in 2027 and potentially 20 million by 2033. Community groups aren't standing idle in the face of displacement pressures. A historic church in North Nashville is launching a $40 million community development project aimed at keeping longtime residents in their homes, using 4.5 acres of church-owned land. Randolph, the project leader, said that when a church has land, and there is a need and they are community-driven, they have to play their part. The city government recognizes the housing crisis and is attempting policy responses. Nashville's public and private housing providers create and preserve an estimated 1,350 affordable housing units per year through MDHA programs and Barnes Fund initiatives. But to avoid a potential 50,000 unit shortage by 2030, annual production should increase by as much as fourfold to 5,250 units. New zoning reforms from the Metro Nashville Planning Department aim to increase density in certain districts to make affordable housing development more feasible. Some neighborhoods illustrate the city's stark economic disparities. Areas like Germantown and Buena Vista show median home values of $634,640 and $629,195 respectively, while neighborhoods like Elizabeth Park offer relatively affordable options at $381,075. But even these affordable areas are increasingly out of reach for service workers, teachers, and other essential community members. The broader economic indicators suggest Nashville's growth will continue. Lawson Allen, president and chairman at Lee, Danner, and Bass Incorporated, observes, "Nashville is a dynamic market with a tremendous amount of wealth moving to and being created here. We have automotive, hospitality, technology, and more. We have some Amazon exposure. Oracle is bringing more tech jobs." Looking ahead, Nashville faces the classic American urban dilemma of the 21st century: how to manage success without destroying the community character that made success possible in the first place. The city's growth trajectory shows no signs of slowing. Tourism projections point towards steady increases. Corporate relocations continue, and construction cranes dot the skyline from downtown to the surrounding suburbs. But the human cost of this transformation is real and measurable. When longtime residents can no longer afford to live in neighborhoods their families have called home for generations, when teachers and service workers must commute increasingly long distances because they are priced out of the communities they serve, the very soul of a place begins to change. Nashville's story is ultimately America's story writ large. The tension between economic opportunity and community stability, between growth and affordability, between becoming a destination and remaining a home. The city's leaders, residents, and newcomers will need to find ways to harness the economic engine they have built while ensuring that prosperity does not become a zero-sum game. The challenge ahead is not just about building more housing or managing tourism better, though both are necessary. It is about deciding what kind of city Nashville wants to be. A playground for the wealthy and tourists, or a place where the nurses, teachers, musicians, and service workers who make the city function can afford to live and thrive. As Nashville approaches that projected milestone of 20 million annual visitors and continues attracting major corporations, the decisions made in the next few years will determine whether Music City can maintain its soul while embracing its success. The stakes could not be higher, not just for Nashville, but for every American city grappling with similar pressures in an era of unprecedented urban growth and economic inequality. The music may never stop playing on Broadway, but the question remains: who will still be able to afford to live here to hear it?